Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Go Beyond Fundraising podcast. This is a show where we explore innovative strategies and insights to help nonprofits elevate their fundraising and marketing efforts. Today, we are thrilled to dive into a topic that is becoming increasingly crucial in our digital age, which is digital advertising. There are a lot of misconceptions around digital advertising that can get in the way of nonprofits leveraging their full potential. And so, to help us debunk some of these myths around digital advertising, I am thrilled to be joined by my colleague Laura Hendrickson. Laura, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Leah. I'm really excited to be here.
Before we get into these 5 myths, I'd love to know more about your experience with digital advertising, the team that you lead here at Allegiance Group and Pursuant, just so we can get an idea of what your day-to-day looks like and how you encounter these myths out in the wild.
Sure. Thanks for that setup. So I am the VP of Advertising at Allegiance Group at Pursuant. When the two companies merged last year, I was part of the legacy Allegiance team and was really excited to get to work with our counterparts on the legacy Pursuant side, because I know that historically that team had not really had a full, robust in-house digital advertising team. For the past several years, that had existed on the legacy Allegiance side. So currently we have a really robust in-house advertising team of 8, but we are in-house, so we're not outsourcing any of the media planning, media buying to any third parties. I think for nonprofits, that's huge because all of your advertising spend budgets are actually going toward advertising. There's no markup, there's no commission. So I think that is really a benefit that this new capability brings. The fact that our team is in-house means we can collaborate with folks on the email team, on the web dev team, on the design team, on the direct mail team to make sure we can really bring that full funnel experience to life and leverage insights from one channel to another. That will play into some of the myths that we debunk in just a few minutes, but I think that has been a really huge benefit to a lot of our nonprofit clients as well by having a really skilled in-house advertising team.
Thank you so much for that background. It's really helpful to tell the full story of why we're having this conversation today. But let's get into these myths. The first myth that we wanted to talk about today is Google grant money should be invested in fundraising ads. Laura, why is this a myth?
That is one of the myths that is very commonly brought up when we're onboarding new clients. Many nonprofits have the wonderful benefit of a Google grant. Microsoft also have grants now. So I think what I'm saying to this one can apply to the other as well. Some clients still have the legacy Google grant. That's about $10,000 a month. There's few that still have the Grants Pro, which sometimes is 4 to 5 times that amount. But I think there's a big misperception that the Google grant can cover all of your Google Ads needs and all of your fundraising needs. That is something that for the past several years on the Allegiance side and definitely as a combined agency, we have definitely seen that to not. And it was really refreshing to see that in the webinar benchmarks that came out a little bit over a year ago. I think for the first time, they started talking about the grant, and we saw a lot of additional proof beyond our own data, how it's not quite the right way to look at that. One of the reasons why the grant isn't as good for a fundraising mechanism as it is for something like awareness is the inventory that Google provides to the grant program is not bad inventory, but I would consider it like remnant inventory. A lot of the digital advertising ecosystem functions on kind of an auction and competitive bid basis, just by nature of how it is set up. A Google grant is almost never going to outperform a paid Google ad. It's just simply not how the inventory and the bidding model is structured and prioritized. Can you raise some money on Google grants? You can, but it is not the cost per dollar raise or the return on ad spend metric, kind of whichever way you tend to prefer to look at that information. It is not going to be as efficient for fundraising in the grant as it is versus paid. What is the Google grant good for? So the Google grant is perfect for awareness. It's perfect for folks that just want to learn more about your organization. That could include folks that are looking for volunteer opportunities. It could include folks that, in the instance of food banks, we have a lot of food bank clients where we are really successfully managing the Google grant. So it could be folks looking to maybe donate food or find out how they can support the food bank. The grant could also be really helpful in making sure you're present for those folks that need the services of your organization. So whether that's a food bank, whether that's something that provides veteran services, being present to reach the folks that need the services your organization can provide is a tremendous benefit there. So what we have found to be incredibly successful for our clients is that the grant efforts are reserved for all of those elements that I just mentioned. So it's awareness of your programs, awareness of what the organization can do. We like to reserve your any paid Google efforts for those most competitive terms for fundraising. So some of your branded terms or the terms that you're using for prospecting and fundraising, whether it's end of year or just during your tentpole campaigns, that is really the best way to divide and conquer those efforts. And the grant can also be a little bit sometimes of a testing ground. Like if you want to drive traffic to some new content on your site, start to think about what might people be out there searching for, to which the content that you just put on your site could be an answer. That's a great way just to get your website traffic up. Organic and paid do work together and benefit each other. A lot of good reasons why you need to have a solid investment in your organic search, your Google grants, as well as your paid. So in summary, I would say that the Google grant should be leveraged to help drive awareness for your organization and the services it provides.
Let's move on to the second myth, which I was really interested to talk a little bit more about, which is this notion that Facebook advertising is dead or Facebook advertising isn't really effective anymore.
Yeah, this has been a debate that I feel like has been going on for the last several years. First picked up a lot of steam a few years ago when Apple started releasing a lot of its newest iOS updates. I think it was starting with iOS like 14, 15, 16, all of those. So advertising on Facebook has definitely become a little bit more challenging, but I think that in a lot of ways, the nonprofit community actually has it a lot easier than some other categories. There have been some challenges within targeting within Facebook. If you've ever done a Facebook or Instagram ad campaign, many of us will remember the days where you could very easily go in and search and target followers of specific pages or things like that, or a lot of really specific information relating to certain demographic characteristics like education and income, some ethnic things, some things related to religious beliefs, even things including sexual orientation. A lot of those criteria are no longer available to be targeting in Facebook. And that's simply because there were some bad actors out there that were wanting to target folks in a discriminatory fashion or use that data inappropriately. So that sort of ruined it for everybody. There are a lot of tools at our disposal, especially in the nonprofit community, where we can counteract that in a huge way. First party data is our biggest tool in our arsenal to help overcome some of those targeting challenges. Nonprofits have a wealth of constituent data. So whether that's folks that subscribe to newsletters or have engaged in advocacy actions or have donated, we have a lot of really great information in a very safe, privacy compliant way. Those data points and those files can be loaded into the Facebook ads platform to allow you to either target some folks directly. You can also create a lookalike model of folks whose online behavior is similar to the people in the file that you uploaded. And that is a really impactful mechanism for targeting. So what better targeting input than to say, go find me more people exactly like this person. So that is one of the biggest tools that we have at our disposal to help overcome those targeting challenges. There's been a lot of talk, of course, about the demise of the cookie. Google just delayed that yet again until I think now it's at the end of 2020. But Facebook has actually been working ahead to counter that for quite some time. There are tools, there are conversions AP and some additional tools that at the current time, you still can very much measure what's happening in there. You can create custom conversions pretty easily. So there are also other data partners. There's several that we work with where you can purchase other data segments. For example, we have clients that might want to target folks that lean in a particular direction on things like climate change, on human rights, religious affiliation, what have you. And there are still some data providers out there that you can purchase this data, feed it into advertising platforms, like I just mentioned with Meta. You can upload that much in the same way that I just mentioned you could with your own first party data. So there are also some really great tools that you can to overcome that, especially when, we have a lot of clients that want to, as part of their diversity, equity, inclusion efforts, they want to make sure that the folks in those groups know about their services, things like that. Being able to target folks by some of those criteria and doing so for the right reasons is really important to some of our clients. So I talked a lot about targeting, but there's also a lot of other tactical opportunities and tools for within the Meta platform that can be a big benefit to a lot of nonprofits. So one is there is a lot of flexibility in platform to edit, add material to, if you wanted to use a little bit of AI to help you with some to help provide variations or automatic optimization to imagery that you upload. There's even opportunities for you to edit video content a little bit. So there are a lot of opportunities within Meta that you can edit materials, refine things a little bit, test and learn. Summary, I would say it's a little bit more challenging than it used to be, but it is absolutely not dead by any means. And I think we're all going to see that much more as the election advertising gets even more intense in the coming months.
I love that you brought up the video editing tools and even some of the AI tools in the Meta platforms. All right, moving on to myth number 3. So this is all about attribution, which is also a very hot topic amongst fundraisers and marketers, which is that last click attribution is sufficient as opposed to other ways of tracking the efficacy of your ads.
So this is a super common one, and I don't think a day or a week goes by where it isn't a topic with some client. So there are a lot of ways to look at attribution, and I think that's the point, is there's not just a way or a singular best way. I would say that last click attribution is the most common. In case someone who's listening isn't familiar, last click attribution is talking about giving credit only to someone who has seen an ad, clicked on it, and then converted. Last click attribution would not take into account someone who, let's say, was exposed to an ad on Facebook, didn't click immediately, but you planted a seed and it came back and donated to your site later on. A lot of client dashboards, tools, and some of those extra ad management tools that some of our clients purchase tend to favor last click attribution. What we try to get clients to really do is we want to look at the big picture. We want to look at the full advertising funnel, especially if you have a client or an organization that has an awareness goal or something like that. If you're only looking at last click attribution, that model really doesn't take into account all of those activities further up the funnel, like awareness ads or even lead gen ads. It's not really going to take into account all the additional touch points along the donor journey that got someone to that final point. There's also certain ad platforms or channels that are going to be more negatively impacted by a last click only model. For example, we have seen in a lot of our client categories, but I would say particularly in the food bank category, that is an upper to mid funnel tactic. In that type of tactic specifically, the majority of conversions are going to be a view through conversion. So it's the opposite of what I meant before. So this is someone who has been exposed to an ad, maybe on one channel, maybe on multiple channels. They eventually convert, but it's not at the first ad that they see. So again, a good example is someone sees a video, they see a programmatic display ad, they're intrigued, and later on they're like, oh shoot, I meant to donate, but I was busy. So I'm going to go and search for that organization's name again, and I'm going to go find their website and donate that way. In an instance like that, donation would probably get, if you're looking at last click, to either organic search or paid search, depending on what they clicked on. But it's really important to find a way to account for the impact that all your other touch points made. We know that the donor journey is very complex for every type of organization, for every type of donor. It's just, we really encourage clients to try to look at a model or consider data points that factor in conversions of all types. Again, those that sort of occur immediately or those that occur a little bit later, but as a result of campaign exposure across a lot of tactics. Definitely a subject of much debate across a lot of clients, for sure.
Absolutely. And I imagine that it is also something that is probably a well discussed point in e commerce marketing. I see so many ads on Instagram for different beauty projects, gadgets, tools, whatever it is that platform thinks I might be interested in. And I might scroll through that ad on the platform, but the buying experience in Meta is not always all that optimal. So a lot of times, if I see something that looks really interesting to me, I'll just go and type that website into the browser on my phone or on my laptop and then search for the item that I saw on that ad because it's just going to be a better experience to go through that transaction in that way.
Yep. And most of the ad platforms that we work in for clients can very easily break out the conversions for what is view through, what is click through. It is also very common for a lot of organizations to prioritize. So there are sometimes different levers that we can pull to try to favor certain tactics, certain creative, what have you, certain targeting elements that are more effective in getting that last click.
Okay, Miss number 4, digital advertising should only be used for fundraising.
So this is one of my favorite myths, and I think one of the easiest to help overcome. It is very natural because of the immediacy and the engaging content that can be put out very quickly with advertising. It is natural to want to go right to that donation ask, but very often we will have clients across categories, across geographies that come to us and say, but people don't quite know who we are, or they don't know exactly what our organization does. Time and time again, we see organizations that have awareness challenges or have, I talked earlier about the importance of a file and a list and how we can leverage that first party data. So maybe an organization isn't as rich in that data quite yet. If you try to immediately go out and ask for a donation, your conversion rates are going to be lower. Your average donation amounts and your return on ad spend, all those important metrics are going to be much lower. So we see across a lot of clients and categories that when you invest in other areas of the funnel to establish that awareness, use advertising along with other channels like email, things on your website, when we can use some of those digital tactics to nurture or to make folks aware of your organization and what you do, and then to nurture them, we see that pay off on the back end. Again, people are going to donate if they don't know who your organization is and they don't know what you're doing or they don't know where the money is going. When we see organizations attack the full funnel, and make sure that we have some presence or something with lead gen where we can get folks that maybe have been exposed and might be aware of us a little bit, but maybe a lower hurdle is to get them to give us their email address so they can receive a newsletter and learn a little bit more so they can decide to donate. Or a lot of our clients do some really amazing work in advocacy. So maybe getting someone to complete an advocacy action or a form in that regard is a better way for them to formally start that relationship with your organization. Those things from awareness, just getting new names and getting folks to engage are all things that we can touch through advertising. And even within a particular channel, we talked about earlier, there are elements even just within one ad platform, we can attack the entire funnel in that platform. For example, we could have a video ad that's running that generates some awareness, tells a little bit more, who is this organization? What we can then do using pixel data, using data right within platforms to say, I want to reach people who have seen this ad or have engaged with this particular video, and maybe people that also follow my page and engage with it organically. We can then target some of those folks. They've done some action, but they haven't authored their information yet. So we might want to target them with some other ask. And then further down the funnel, when we really want to encourage them to donate, we can use all those same targeting tactics to further target a much more refined and qualified group of individuals with that donation ask. And when we see clients that really are attacking the full funnel, we definitely see a lot of success in terms of donor retention tends to be much strong. Then we get those particular folks in. When we look a lot of times year over year, we then see their percentage of new donors. And what organization does not want newer, younger donors right now? They all do, right? Increase key metrics like new donors, average donation, return on ad spend, all those good metrics. We see that increase quite a bit. So I did mention lead gen a little bit in the context of Meta, but there are also some really great pay-to-play partners that specialize in in lead gen and name acquisition that have the opportunity to get your message out there in a platform and in a mindset where folks are going to that site and to the channel to do just that, to act upon the causes and topics that mean a lot to them. And that helps us for future advertising campaigns, but that also certainly helps to possibly add folks to direct mail file, add folks to email as well. So huge opportunity for us to really address all aspects of the funnel through digital advertising. It's a discussion we love to have because I think clients a lot of times are very pleasantly surprised that they can do so much more. And then they're equally as excited and surprised when they see the results on the back end.
Absolutely. I've seen some amazing stats from some of the work that your team has done where by strategically investing the right percentage of your budget in ads at each stage of the funnel, you can create an amazing and holistic journey all the way from awareness to that conversion by placing your bets with your ad dollars in the right places and in the right amounts. And you can do that with just about any budget as long as you know how much to invest at each stage of the journey.
Exactly. And what's also really great is that because we are in-house and we're in the platform and looking at that data, in some clients that might have a bit more of a robust budget, we might have, let's say, 5 or 6 tactics or placements happening at a time that are in that sort of upper funnel awareness goal. And if we see 1 or 2 of those tactics performing exponentially better than the other, even within an overall objective or within a channel, we can pull a lot of different levers, increase spend and performance on things that are once live performing at a stronger rate. So that there's just that inherent flexibility within digital advertising as well, where we can move things across objectives, across partners based on real-time data.
All right, let's move on to our last myth, which is video content is hard or expensive to make.
This one is another one that is very pleasantly surprising to a lot of. So I'll start first, like why video is so important. Video can be really critical in kind of communicating the emotion related to the mission of the organization. So on an emotional, influential level, video is really important. On a practical level, picking on our friend Facebook, again, their algorithms absolutely prioritize video-based content. And you're going to see that across the board on other social platforms as well. So we've always been talking to a lot of our clients. When we can get video, we definitely want to use it. And video can work really well upper funnel. It can work really well lower funnel too. But I think there's sometimes some initial put that folks think, oh my goodness, I have to go out and do a big expensive video shoot or go shoot something brand new for just this ad, for just this one campaign. If you can, amazing, but that's absolutely not required. How we have successfully gotten around that for a lot of clients, if there is organic video content that they've used on their social platforms, we can often take that and edit it. We have some really talented editors in-house that can do that type of thing. There are also some tools that organizations can use that are pretty darn cost efficient to make edits and to get something a little more shorter for an ad type format. In Meta, for example, there are also edits and reductions that you can make to a video right within the ad platform. So there's a lot of opportunity to rework something that might have been created for another purpose. We also have a lot of clients, particularly some of those in the health space, where a patient's story is really involved. And we've seen some success with kind of candid videos, sometimes something just created up close personal on someone's mobile phone, telling their personal story. That can be really impactful. We've also had an incredible amount of success with our very talented designers taking existing client static images of the folks that you serve or something that represents a program that you have. We can take static imagery and make them generally pretty easily into animated GIFs. And that will, in a platform like Meta, satisfy that video file type requirement that helps us get in good favor with the algorithm. So there are a lot of things that we can do that, again, repurpose video that you have, take static assets that you have and make them into a video that still communicates emotion, still communicates the importance of giving. So that it's really, there's a lot of opportunity there. I think much more than a lot of clients would think. And something that's definitely feasible across a lot of budget levels for sure.
I've been impressed with how specifically in the Meta platform and in particular how they have so many recommendations built into the video editor. The other day I was making a video and I got a little tip that popped up that it was longer than 60 seconds because at the moment the algorithm on Instagram is showing that Videos that are about 60 seconds or shorter tend to perform the best. There is an Instagram Reels account where they're always putting out new recommendations for how videos are performing. And I've been so impressed as just a personal organic video creator about how much education there is out there to be had for the average person. And for a nonprofit with a small budget, there's a lot you can do without much investment.
Could not agree more.
All right, Laura, thank you so much for joining us today to go over these myths.
I think we've covered all the most important myths. I think we love brainstorming with clients. We love asking questions. I think as fast as field of digital advertising is evolving and changing literally sometimes on a daily basis, just because you tried something a few years ago and it didn't work, or something that was true a couple years ago might now actually be a misperception because things and capabilities have advanced. I would just encourage all organizations be open to trying something new, and it never hurts to have a conversation about it.